Can you believe it? In just a few short seconds at Los Angeles International Airport, my entire world came crashing down. Amid the bustling crowd, buzzing with excitement for their dream vacation to Hawaii, my daughter-in-law Heather suddenly turned to me. She smiled sweetly, but her eyes were icy cold and uttered words that still echo in my ears. "Sorry, Margaret, we only booked tickets for 4. You should head back home, maybe next time." My heart felt like it was being crushed. I froze, clutching my passport with trembling hands, while David, my own son, the boy I raised with every ounce of love, I had kept his head down, avoiding my gaze like a stranger. And my 2 grandchildren, Liam and Sophia, pretended to stay glued to their phones, acting as if they didn't see the humiliating scene their parents had created for their grandmother. $45,000. That's right, $45,000. Every cent I scraped together from my savings, from the piece of land in Texas my late husband left me. I sold it all to give our family the perfect vacation. I believed this would be the moment we grew closer again, watching the sunset together on the beaches of Maui, sharing warm laughter at a vibrant luau dinner under the stars. I believed, until that cruel moment shattered everything. Imagine it. Every plan, every hope, every ounce of love I poured into this trip, destroyed in an instant. Not because of a booking mistake, not because of some technical error, but because Heather, my daughter-in-law, had orchestrated it all behind my back. And the worst part? David, my son, knew it all along and chose to stay silent. In that moment, I realized I was no longer welcome in my own family. I wasn't a partner in their dream vacation, I was just an ATM they could drain and discard. But they forgot one thing. I'm not just some fragile old woman they can manipulate. I am Margaret Collins, and when betrayed, I don't weep, I strike back. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. I sank into one of the airport chairs, watching the silhouettes of my family fade through the boarding gate. It felt like a knife had been driven straight into my heart. Around me, the world buzzed with joy, children laughing, families hugging, lovers kissing goodbye before their flights. And me, I was left alone, with nothing but the brutal truth. I had just been betrayed by the very people I loved most. The taxi ride back to my little house in Pasadena was a blur. The freeway was jammed as always, the California sun blinding as ever, yet everything around me felt colorless. Heather's words kept replaying in my head. We only booked for 4 people, which meant I was never part of the plan. This wasn't a mistake, it was deliberate. I brewed myself a cup of tea, forcing my hands to stay steady. My husband's death years ago had taught me something. Impulsive reactions only deepen the wound. But a calculated response, rooted in reason, that's what truly terrifies people. I opened my laptop and pulled up every single confirmation email Heather had sent. And there it was, staring me in the face. Every reservation, every ticket, every luxury detail was all in my name. The flights, the 5-star hotel, the sunset cruise, the luau dinners, all paid for with my credit card. I smiled, a bitter but resolute smile. If they saw me as nothing more than a walking wallet, then it was time to teach them an expensive lesson. One by one, I dialed the numbers. The Maui hotel? Cancelled. The first-class flights? Cancelled. The scuba excursion? The beachfront dinners? The luau tickets? All cancelled. And with every polite voice assuring me, your refund will be processed within 3 to 5 business days. A jolt of satisfaction surged through me. Not blind revenge, but the raw sense of reclaiming justice. That night, the calls began. First, David. His voice shook. "Mom, what's going on with the reservations? They said everything's been cancelled." I quietly set the phone down without answering. Then came Heather, shrill and furious. "Margaret, what the hell do you think you're doing? We're here in Hawaii with the kids. Are you trying to leave us on the street?" I turned on speaker, listened to every word, and stayed silent. Dozens of calls followed, messages piling in, some begging, some threatening. I flipped my phone face down on the table, poured myself another cup of tea, and put on some classical music. For the first time in years, I felt in control. The next morning, as sunlight streamed through my window, I noticed a message from Sophia, my 15-year-old granddaughter. Just one line, but it pierced my heart. "Grandma, did you pay for everything? I don't understand why Mom and Dad said you refused to come. I'm scared." Tears welled in my eyes. The children weren't to blame. They were just victims of their parents' selfishness, and in that moment, I understood. This fight wasn't only about reclaiming my dignity. It was about showing them, the next generation, the difference between love and betrayal. Asterisk, asterisk. That afternoon, as the sun began to dip, my phone started ringing again. This time it was a string of voicemails, one after another, voices frantic and angry. First came David. "Mom, please pick up. The hotel won't let us check in. They said all the reservations were canceled. We're standing in the lobby with our bags. The kids are exhausted and crying. Mom, this has to be a mistake. Please help us." Then, Heather's shrill voice cut through, with none of the sweet pretense left. "Margaret, are you insane? Do you have any idea what we're going through? You think you won? Don't forget the kids, they're suffering because of you." I listened to every message and didn't answer. I wanted them to feel what it was like to be abandoned, the same way they'd left me outside the boarding gate. That night, as I was about to clear the table, the phone rang again. But this time it wasn't David. It wasn't Heather. It was an unfamiliar number with a Hawaii area code. I hesitated, then picked up, and a shaky voice said, "Grandma, it's me, Sophia. I'm calling from a front desk phone because Mom won't let me use mine." My chest tightened. I sank down into a chair, hands trembling as I held the phone. "What's wrong, Sophia? Are you okay?" she hiccuped. "Grandma, I don't understand. Why won't the hotel let us in? Dad said the system glitched, but I heard Mom shouting that you canceled everything. Did you pay for the trip? Were you really planning to come with us?" I closed my eyes and swallowed the lump in my throat. It was time for the truth. "Yes, Sophia, I paid for everything. The flights, the hotel, the tours, everything was on my card. I intended to go with you. But your parents arranged to leave me out of the trip. They told me my ticket had been forgotten." There was a long silence on the other end. I feared the line had dropped. Then, the small voice, far too heavy for a 15-year-old, whispered, "They left you? At the airport? After you paid for everything?" "Yes, sweetheart." A soft sob came through. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I didn't know. Mom told me you didn't want to come. I believed her. But now I understand. Mom lied." I drew a deep breath. "Sophia, you and Liam aren't to blame. This is an adult problem. But I want you to remember one thing. Every action has consequences. Your parents will have to face the fallout of their greed and betrayal." Before we hung up, Sophia murmured, "I love you, Grandma. No matter what they say, I love you. I just wish you were here with us." The phone slipped from my hand onto the table and I cried. My heart ached for those children. But underneath the ache, a cold resolve rose. I would not back down. If I softened now, they would never learn the lesson they needed to learn. Asterisk, asterisk. 3 days later, my phone rang mid-morning while I was watering the garden. The caller ID showed a Hawaii area code. A calm, professional voice came through. "Mrs. Margaret Collins? This is Lieutenant Nakamura with the Honolulu Police Department. I'm calling regarding your son and daughter-in-law." I froze. For a brief moment, terror gripped me. An accident, a hospital stay, or even worse. My voice trembled. Are they okay, officer?" "They're not injured, but they are currently being detained. The hotel reported them for leaving without settling their full balance. The outstanding debt is around $2,000, covering rooms, meals, and services. Until it's resolved, they won't be allowed to leave." I collapsed onto the stone bench in my garden, the hose shaking in my hand. Unbelievable. They had repeated the same mistake. After I canceled everything, instead of facing the truth, they borrowed, schemed, and left the children stranded again. "Mrs. Collins, if you're able to cover the payment, the matter can be resolved within a few hours," the lieutenant continued. "Otherwise, the case will move through the legal system." I shut my eyes. Faces of Sophia and Liam flashed before me, 2 innocent kids huddled in a cold police waiting room, listening to angry adults argue in a language they barely understood. I knew I couldn't abandon them. But I also knew that if I paid it all, Heather would see it as proof, use the children as shields, and the old woman will always give in. I drew a deep breath. "I'll pay," I said slowly. "But only the basics, just enough so the children don't suffer, not a dime for their luxury spending." That afternoon, David called. His voice was different now, no longer panicked, but heavy, subdued. "Mom, I know you covered the bill. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but thank you. Not for me, for Liam and Sophia." I stayed silent, letting him continue. "Heather still blames you. says you did this to sabotage us. But deep down, I know the truth. It's on us. I was blind, following her lead, letting you be humiliated at the airport. I betrayed your trust. A long pause. I heard his ragged sigh through the line. Mom, I've arranged a loan through my company. We'll be flying back tomorrow. I don't expect forgiveness overnight. But please don't cut the kids off. They had no part in this. Don't let our mistakes destroy your bond with them. I looked up at the endless blue sky above me, a storm of emotions rising inside. Part of me wanted to lash out, to unload all my fury, but another part saw the faintest flicker of conscience still alive in my son. David, I said at last, my tone steady but firm. I've forgiven plenty in the past, but this can't be swept away with an apology. When you come back, we'll sit down and speak openly, no more lies, no more excuses. And hear me clearly, the boundaries have changed. No one treats me like an ATM ever again. I hung up, my heart heavy yet strangely lighter. I knew a storm was waiting when they returned, but this time I was ready. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. The day they returned, the Pasadena sky was gray, the wind whipping through the trees outside the porch. I sat in the living room, a steaming cup of tea on the table in front of me, and 2 envelopes already prepared, one containing a copy of my new will, the other a letter drafted by my attorney. The sound of a car pulling up echoed through the gate. The door opened. David walked in, gaunt, dark circles under his eyes. Heather followed, her face pinched with anger, her eyes burning with defiance. The air grew so thick with tension that even the ticking clock seemed deafening. I watched them for a long moment before speaking calmly. Sit down. We need to talk. David hesitated, then quietly sank into the sofa. Heather crossed her arms, leaning against the doorframe, her glare sharp and challenging. I placed the first envelope on the table. Over the past 5 years, I've given you more than $200,000. Houses, cars, tuition for the kids, even vacations I was never invited on. I didn't do it because I was foolish. I did it because I believed it would hold this family together. And what did I get in return? A public betrayal at the airport. Heather sneered. You're exaggerating. We just wanted a peaceful trip, without having to cater to your every whim. I met her eyes, my voice like ice. Stop lying. I heard you myself telling your friend this trip was to show her she's no longer needed. I've had enough. I pushed the second envelope toward David. This is an official notice from my lawyer. As of today, I will not be paying a single bill for either of you. No mortgage, no car payments, no living expenses. You're adults. You can take care of yourselves. David's head dropped, his lips trembling. Mom, please, don't do this. I cut him off, my words sharp as a blade. My decision is final. And there's one more thing. I opened the remaining envelope and drew out the copy of my new will. All of my assets, except for the scholarship fund for Liam and Sophia, will be donated to charity. I've created a trust for the children to ensure their education is fully covered. As for you two, you'll get nothing. The room fell into a deathly silence. Heather's face flushed red. She lunged forward, snatching at the paper in my hand, her eyes wild. You can't do this. You're David's mother. You owe us after everything we've done. I rose to my feet, my voice ringing with finality. I don't owe anyone anything. I fulfilled my duty as a mother more than enough, but respect cannot be bought with money. And I will never allow anyone to treat me like a walking wallet again, Heather screamed, her voice breaking. If you go through with this, you'll never see your grandchildren again. I looked straight into her eyes, unwavering. Liam and Sophia will soon be old enough to make their own choices. And if you try to forbid it, go ahead. You'll lose far more than I ever will. David buried his face in his hands, crushed. Heather stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I sighed, my eyes falling on my son, still frozen in place, his eyes brimming with tears. Mom, are you really not going to change your mind? No, David. This is the last time I have to defend myself. And the very first time I truly feel free. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. A week after that confrontation, my little house in Pasadena felt unusually quiet. No more desperate phone calls, no endless text messages full of excuses, just the sparrows singing outside my porch and the faint scent of lavender drifting from the garden. I had prepared myself for solitude, yet the door opened in a way I never expected. That afternoon, Sophia and Liam appeared on my doorstep. Not dragged there, not pushed by Heather, but on their own, riding their bikes. Sophia threw her arms around me, her eyes brimming with tears. "Grandma, we missed you." Liam stood a step behind, shy at first, but his gaze steady. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I didn't understand what was happening. But I know one thing, you would never abandon us." In that moment, my heart melted. I realized that no matter how fierce the storm, true love finds its way back. I made hot cocoa for them, and they curled up on the sofa, telling me about their miserable days in Hawaii damp hostels, meals of cheap bread and cheese, and nights filled with endless arguments between their parents. Every word cut me like a knife, but it only strengthened my resolve. David and Heather had to learn their lesson to the very end. A few months later, I finalized the trust fund for the children. My lawyer ensured that every expense from college through graduate school would be covered for them. The rest of my estate, I directed to a children's charity in Texas, the same one my husband and I once volunteered with. Signing that last document lifted a weight I had carried for years. That summer, Sophia and I went to a local art exhibit, where she displayed her very first painting. Liam proudly showed me his school's soccer trophy. Watching their smiles light up the room, I knew I had chosen the right path. I no longer had to buy anyone's love. I was giving my heart to the right people, in the right way. David still calls from time to time, cautiously, checking in. But I'm no longer an ATM in his eyes. As for Heather, she's vanished completely from our lives, as if she never existed. And truthfully, I don't miss her one bit. Now, each morning I sit on my porch with a cup of tea, listening to the wind through the flowers. I've learned one great truth. If love requires money to survive, it isn't love. If your presence only matters when it comes with a check, then it's time to draw the line. I am Margaret Collins, and it cost me $45,000 to learn that lesson. But in exchange, I gained freedom, self-respect, and the genuine love of the grandchildren who will never betray me. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been used or belittled because of money, remember, you are not alone. Share your own experience in the comments, because every story matters, and yours might give someone else the strength to stand tall. And don't forget to hit subscribe to stay with me through more real-life stories, hard-earned lessons that any of us could face. If you believe that justice sometimes comes from small but decisive actions, share this video with a friend. Let the world know this. True love cannot be bought with money. ****